Hi guys, today I'm going to be talking about tips for a preschool teacher interview success. Yes, today's discussion is going to be all about tips for a preschool teacher interview success. Yes, I know this is the season of interviews, educators, preschool teachers applying for job positions and being called for an interview. So I'm going to be giving out tips for a preschool teacher interview success. Tip number 1. When you are being called for an interview, please be punctual. Yes, it says a lot about you, about your personality. For instance, if you're being called for an interview at 9 a.m., do not turn up at 9 a.m. No. Be there few minutes before 9 a.m. If possible, be there half hour before 9 a.m. So for instance, if you're being called for an interview 9 a.m., be there for half 8. So you can just relax, be in your car, calm down, relax, because I know interview can't be daunting. So it's important when you're being called for an interview, please be punctual. It says a lot about your personality. Let's say you have an interview for 9 a.m. and you're turning in for 9 a.m. Your future employer would be like, oh, are you going to be keeping to time? And you need to understand that you're going to be working with children, with team, with a lot of people as well, so which requires you to be punctual. So the first tip is when you're being called for an interview, it's important that you're being punctual. Tip number 2, do your research about the organization. It's important. If you're being called for an interview in a school, do your research about the school. Know more about the school. Go online. And social media makes things easier. So you go online, type the name of the school. You'll be able to do your research about them because you're going to be asked this question: what do you know about us? And for you to answer this question, you need to research about the organization, who they are, their philosophy, what they stand for. So it's important when you're being called for an interview to do your research about the organization. This is important. And tip number 3, your facial expressions, your hand gestures, your posture says it all. It's really important. Your non-verbal communication says it all when you're in an interview. It means you have to comport yourselves. Because your future employer, they look at all these facial expressions, they look at all the non-verbal communication. And it's been proven that non-verbal communication actually says a lot about who you are. So when you're being called for an interview, be mindful of your non-verbal communication. Be mindful of your facial expressions, your hand gestures, your postures. So it's important that you comport yourself. I've seen in the past, sometimes people go for an interview and then they roll their eyes. It doesn't say a lot about you, about your personality. So it's so important when you're being called for an interview to be mindful of your non-verbal communication. Tip number 4, your dressing is also important. If you're being called for an interview, you need to dress formal, okay? Don't go dressing informally and just look at it, oh, it's just an interview. No. Your dressing says a lot about you as well, because you're going to be working in a formal environment, and it's really important that you dress formally as well. It says a lot about your personality, about who you are. Because for instance, if you get the job, your dressing says a lot to the children, to the parents, to other team members, to your employers. So it's really important that when you're being called for an interview as well, you mind what you wear. So this comes with preparation as well. It's not just only, looking at the likely questions you're going to be asked. Your dressing says a lot as well. So it requires you to think of, what are you going to wear? So don't wear something that is too dark or something that is too bright. So be modest in your dressing. This is important. And don't wear revealing clothes when you're being called for an interview. This is important as well. It's a lot about you because you're going to be working with children, you're going to be dealing with parents, and you can't wear revealing clothes. So it's important when you're being called for an interview, you're dressing. So you need to make your research as well. What are you going to wear? Even in terms of your makeup as well. For instance, if you're going to be wearing makeup as well, you have to make sure that your makeup is just, not too bright, not too dark, normal. So just make sure in terms of your dressing that you're formal with your dressing. This is important as well, all right? And lastly, it's important that you make a research about some likely questions you're going to be asked. For the past few weeks, I've been talking about likely questions you're going to be asked at a preschool job interview. I'm going to leave the link down below so that you can through some of the likely questions you're going to be asked at a preschool job interview. So last I said earlier, I know interviews can be daunting, but with this, follow this tip that I've given to you. Don't worry, you're going to ace your interview. So if you want more of this on this channel, what you have to do, subscribe, and not just subscribe, turn on that notification bell so that you'll be the first person to be notified. Until I come your way next time, stay safe and mind yourselves for now. Bye.